Hi everyone, today's session is Learning Outcome 3. My name is Shazia Khan and the unit is Business Ethics. So just a summary of the last elements of what we did in the last session was firstly to Learning Outcome 2, which was to understand business objectives from an ethical perspective. We looked at what is the code of ethics in regards to a business organization, and we looked at why it was so important to have a code of ethics in any organization. We also looked at why have a code of ethics, so the importance of having a code of ethics, such as showing customers that it values integrity, defining the terms of ethical behavior at work, guide decision making in different situations. Also, how will a code of ethics help? So it's there to clarify any questions employees have concerning the organization's values and expectations, also help build trust and commitment, and help raise awareness. And we also looked at what should a code of ethics include, and looked at that it should have the values of the organization and what is expected of individuals. We also looked at what will a code of ethics include in regards to the responsibility of management and staff, also legal rules, governing behavior, rules governing gifts and entertainment, the company's policy and procedures, and we also looked at what it should include things as confidentiality, reporting and communication, health and safety, equality, discrimination, money handling, purchasing, reference to the explanation of the core values, product or service integrity and corporate compliance. We also looked at putting the code of ethics together, the step 1, step 2, step 3, and we looked at the issue around implementing the code of ethics, and we gave an example of Kraft as an organization, how it dealt with its relationship in regards to ethics and how it dealt with its code of ethics. We looked at explaining how business objectives are affected by ethical considerations, so understanding the business environment. Also, we looked at business sectors, private, public, voluntary sector, and in regards to charities and other organizations. We also looked at understanding the competition, the mission and the vision statement and why it's so important, aims and objective, so understanding the terminology, organizational responsibilities. We also looked at 2.2, evaluate the implications of a business, and we looked at stakeholders as customers and as individuals as well, and their relationship within a business, and the 3 types of stakeholders: internal, connected, and external. Now we're going to go on to Learning Outcome 3, which is to understand ethics in the workplace relationships. So ethics, we first look at most businesses today are concerned about the impact of what they do on business environment. Ethical concerns and greater consumer awareness have resulted in many businesses promoting their social values in order to ensure competitive advantage. Business ethics includes corporate social responsibility and ethics relating to accounting, practices, marketing, human rights, human resource management, and production. The relevance of ethics to businesses. So companies do not operate in a vacuum, but are part of society which expects a certain standard of behavior from businesses. Companies require a license to operate. Stakeholders want to be associated with responsible organizations. Being treated fairly, honestly, and consistently is of value to a business, customers, suppliers, investors, and employees. It builds the trust. According to Mori research, 74% of the public within the 24 countries surveyed say that a company's social responsibility is an important factor when deciding which product or service to purchase. 84% believe that companies should do more to contribute to society. At the same time, employees cannot take for granted that their staff understand their ethical standards are expected of them in carrying out their work on behalf of their company. Provision of guidance is therefore essential for creating and sustaining an ethical culture and avoiding misconduct. Avoiding costly crisis and scandal is of value to businesses. Reputation hits can be hard to recover from, without a foundation of trust. Having a clearly articulated values and ethical policy is seen to be a good governance practice. It is one of the hallmarks of a well-run business. Business ethics. Ethics is about morality, about right and honourable conduct. Business ethics is about reflecting on the extent to which businesses operate within a system of morals, for example, knowing and acting according to what they believe is good, and taking others into consideration. Business ethics is application of ethical values to business behaviour. Business ethics is relevant both to the conduct of individuals and the organisation as a whole. It applies to any and all aspects of business conduct, from boardroom strategies and how companies treat their employees and suppliers to sales techniques and accounting practices. Ethics go beyond the legal requirements for a company and is therefore about discretionary decisions and behaviour guided by values. So what's the difference between business ethics and ethical business? Business ethics, these are benefits and drawbacks of businesses operating ethically. Certain business practices may be considered acceptable or unacceptable from the standpoint of the particular stakeholders. For example, if a business stops making products that are harmful to the environment, what the implications for the employees may lose their jobs. This would also have affect the shareholders when they do not receive a return on their investments. It will also affect the supply chain as supply businesses are affected. Business ethics, corporate responsibility and sustainability. Business ethics is all about the application of ethical values to all business behaviours and functions. It is about the conduct of individuals as well as organisations, the way we do business. Corporate social responsibility agenda is often about the commitment the organisation makes to its stakeholders to increase the positive impacts and decrease the negative ones, either through core business activities or through additional programs. Sustainability has become important in the notion of ethical and responsible business. This adds a long-term dimension. It can refer to the protection of natural resources, ecological well-being, and long-term social and economic health. UK Modern Slavery Bill. October 2014, a new provision requiring businesses to make an annual disclosure setting out what they have done to eradicate modern slavery from their supply chains. Ethical Trading Initiative. Their members, companies, trade unions and voluntary organisations work together to tackle the many complex questions about the steps companies should take to trade ethically and how to make a positive difference to workers' life. Definition of slavery, and this is a definition from Modern Slavery Beginners Guides, and it identifies modern slavery as a relationship in which one person is controlled by another through violence, the threat of violence, or psychological coercion, has lost free will and free movement, is exploited economically, and is paid nothing beyond subsistence. Slaves are forced to work for others, profit, and are unable to walk away. So the fact is that they are being controlled. That definition actually means that they are being controlled, and they cannot go anywhere, and they are literally can't walk away from this situation. So we've got freedom from all discrimination and exploitation, slavery, chattel, debt, bondage, contract, forced labour, child labour, class, gender, radical pay gap, below living condition, no union representation, 0 hours contract, hazardous working conditions, forced overtime and workplace bullying. There is a continuum of exploitation around the world, and slavery exists at its extreme end. But if a person is able to walk away, however hard that choice and however exploited they are, the situation ceases to be slavery. And this was slavery advisor to the UN and the UK government, Kevin Bale, stated that. So apply factories accused of exploiting Chinese workers, 2014. Some examples are here. Mattress factory in UK employs migrant workers at £2 a day 2014. Building collapses in Bangladesh leave scores dead, 2013. Revealed Asian slave labour producing prawns for supermarkets in US, UK, 2014. In Qatar, it was promises to reform law belays after outcry over World Cup slaves, 2014. There were some examples that slavery occurred in that instance. Understanding the business environment. There are many different types of organisations set up to serve a number of different purposes and meet a variety of needs. All businesses try to achieve their objectives, are accountable to stakeholders, and need to be managed and have to meet legal requirements and have a formal structure. Any business involves people and resources do one of the two things: to make, produce items or goods to be sold, and to provide services to be sold. Understanding the business environment. Types of businesses include sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies, either private limited or public limited. Then small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses. The type of activity which individual businesses are involved in varies upon their product. There are three levels. So the primary sector, industries that produce raw materials. The secondary sector, industries that use the raw materials and provided by the primary sector. And then the tertiary sector, which industries such as distribution and service industries. All of the above can include both public and private organisations. Business sectors. So these three sectors, which most fall into our private sector, public sector, voluntary sector, and also cooperatives. Their main purposes. So the private sector is privately owned businesses, must make a profit and emphasise on increasing sales and keeping costs low. This is because the higher the sales and the lower the cost, the greater the profit that is made each year. Public sector, which is state-owned businesses, and these want to keep costs low and get value for money. Most of them are expected to break even. This means they must not spend more than the money they receive to operate. They normally have a strict budget and targets to meet. Examples include hospital targets relating to patient waiting times, school targets relating to achievement, police targets relating to solving crime. Then we've got the voluntary sector, which is charities and other organisations. Their aim is to raise as much money as possible from donations and other sources and keep costs low, so they have a large surplus. This is spent on supporting the aims of the organisation. For example, Shelter uses the surplus to assist the homeless. The RSPCA uses it to help animals, etc. Cooperatives. They do not fall into conventional public or private categories and are not nationalised or state-owned. They pay back a proportion of the surplus generated during the year's trading to their members or subscribers. This can take the form of dividends on profit, interest on shares held, or discounts on future purchases. Understanding the competition. So how does the organisation compare to others in the sector? So private businesses compare themselves against others in the sector in terms of those sales, whose sales profits are the highest, or who has the highest part of the market share. Public sector organisations compare themselves against each other with methods such as performance tables. Examples of these are council tax charges, police figures on crime statistics. Voluntary sector organisation compare performance in terms of amount they raise. Stakeholders are individuals or groups that have an interest in how the enterprise performs because it affects them in some way. In other words, they have a stake in the organisations. Stakeholders include shareholders, customers, consumers, suppliers, employees, retirees, competitors, neighbours, the immediate community, the national society, the world society, the chief executive and the board of directors, government and the local government special interests. There are three main types of stakeholders: internal stakeholders, which is employees, management; connected stakeholders, which are customers, suppliers, shareholders and finances; external stakeholders, the community, the government and pressure groups. Stakeholders' conflicts. Each stakeholder will make demands on how and have expectations of the organisation. The expectations will be expressed through objectives. Sometimes the objectives expectation of any one stakeholder group may conflict with those of another. It is important for organisations to maintain a working balance between the claims of the various stakeholder groups. Sometimes a dominant stakeholder group can impose its demands at the expense of others. So what stakeholder conflicts can you think of? Policies to complement a code of ethics and align legislation. Policies to support a code of ethics. See handout for detailed list of potential policies that could be implemented in the workplace. Highlight each one that is or could be included in the case study. Legislation and organizational accountability. It's easy to think that business law and business ethics are interchangeable. They are not. In best case scenario, they should shadow and complement each other. But that is not often the case. Business often takes actions that are legal but not ethical. Understanding what business law and business ethics are will help the differences to become clearer. Legislation and organizational accountability. Business law or commercial law is the body of law that relates to trade and commerce, banking and investments, contracts, marketing and advertising, incorporation and corporate structure, and finance and collections are regulations that reflect the individual's situations that affect the different areas of business. So here it's saying that business law is really important in regards to the business community, but also business ethics is also important, and they work alongside each other to try to make the business more effective. Business law determines the minimum standards of behaviour expected of companies and sole traders. Enforcement of these laws are on a corporate scale generally consists of fines charged to the corporation. Individual accountability for corporate crime has to be proven to be taken place by the responsible party. For example, a company may have sold a product it knew was defective, choosing to sell it anyway. Unless you can prove in a court of law through evidence that the leader of the company in particular knew about the defect and ordered the product to be sold, you can sue the company, but you cannot press criminal charges against the corporation. Since a corporation cannot go to jail, all there is left to use to penalise the corporation are fines or court judgments. Legislation and organisational accountability. Business ethics go beyond simply legality. They describe the way a business should behave, how a business does what it is legally obligated to do. Ethics are not as much of a specific code of conduct as they are values to be upheld and practiced. They are the spirit of law as opposed to the letter of law. This is designed to create an environment of personal accountability within the business where there's none under the law. So, it's identified the importance of business ethics to a business in regards to, following what they should be doing and also behaving as you are obligated to do so in a business. And there are a code of conduct and values that need to be upheld and practiced in any business. Business ethics also shape the perspectives that the public uses to view a business. Values like honesty, integrity, confidentiality, respect, those are values that are part of the business ethics. While the law may not require you to tell the complete truth in a business situation, such as when a manufacturer misleads to describe an object, being honest about the product will gain a business reputation for being ethical. People want to do work with or make purchases from businesses they believe are ethical. And there's a video there that you could have a look at in your own time on business ethics. Legislation and organizational accountability. Due to some scandals of the early 2000s, laws were put in place to bring some ethical accountability for corporate financial behavior. This has made lawmakers more comfortable with the idea of telling businesses how they should act, instead of merely telling them how they can't act. The field of business ethics has blossomed due to the creation of consulting firms that help businesses to develop ethical policies and to monitor compliance with regulatory standards. Business law has begun to merge with business ethics. Legislation, so we've got trading standards.gov.uk legislation, HSE, the health and safety executive.gov.uk legislation. We've got the equality and human rights in regards to how to treat people fairly, and also the human rights. What are human rights? The Human Rights Act and legislation in regards to UK PGA 2010. Interestingly, the UK consumer protection regulations are a good example of unethical business practices becoming prohibited in law. For example, it has always been unethical to mislead customers into buying products or services. Now it is illegal, and the link there is to aca.org.uk in regards to product liability and how to treat customers. Corporate governance coverages, employment and industrial law, corporate governance, social responsibility, intellectual property, corporate law and finance, insolvency, commercial law and consumer protection. Global coverage includes ethics, non-numental models, governance strategy, public policy, corporate social responsibility, human rights, workplace spirituality, employee community engagement, transparency and resource management. International trade law coverage includes international trade, global markets, competition law, governance and regulation, foreign investment, internet law, business ethics and globalization. Social responsibility coverage includes corporate activity and behavior, issues of gender, race and ethnicity, ethics and morality, ecology and environment, economy and finance, governance, governmental and trans-governmental regulations, individuals, lifestyle and citizenship. So concepts of ethics in an organizational context. There's further reading that you could do in regards to this, and the resource that I've identified there is a resource by Jacques P. Thurer and Keith W. Krasman, and it's Theory and Practice, and it's 11th edition. And it's a book that you could go on to read. It may be on ebooks as well for you. 3.1, assess the role of the company acting as a moral agent. Here you need to take an example of a chosen organization. Take and find the annual general report from the website. Read the section where the company board mentions the business, ethics, morals, and corporate social responsibility. Write and summarize that in your own words about the CSR or any of one of the business ethics policies. 3.2, analyze the development of mechanism for achieving employee involvement and empowerment. Refer to the handout of LO3 on Moodle. The references we've used for today's session is Crane A, Business Ethics, Managing Corporate Citizenship and Sustainability in the Age of Globalization, Lovell A, 2008, Business Ethics and Values, Individual, Corporate and International Perspective, website Business Ethics Magazine, Business Ethics Knowledge at Wharton, online link, European Business Ethics Network, online link, Institute of Business, online link, and the Society for Business Ethics, an online link. So thank you for attending today's session, and thank you for your patience. And we've come to an end for Learning Outcome 3 now. The next Learning Outcome we'll be doing is Learning Outcome 4, and that will be the next session in regards to that. If you have any questions, just email me on UK Varsity email address, and please have a look on Moodle for additional resources and additional reading that you can do in regards to this session. Thank you for attending the session.